Hello and welcome, folks, to another edition of RSF Radio. I am your host, Joe Monday, as always, but I have a very special guest with me tonight. You might know him from his Big Beautiful Boy, but you also might know him as St. Cola. How you doing, man?
Doing great. How about you, Joe?
Pretty good. The dryness, we're in that time of winter. Pittsburgh winter comes on thick and fast in that there's about there's like maybe 5 good days of fall, and then everything turns gray, and then it'll snow here and there, and then it'll get like up to 70 degrees, and then it'll get back down to 32 like the very next day. But in that whole time, it's all very dry, and I was talking about this before, but my eyes are just like, they're so dry. They're like raisins inside my skull, and it is bothersome, a little bothersome. That's how I am. How are you?
You know, I'm actually a little exhausted. I came home from my locals last night at like 12 o'clock. I actually did commentary for like the first time, like for Street Fighter 5.
Word.
And that is like one of the, I've always had respect for commentary or people who do commentary. But man, when you're in the seat, and sometimes when you're by yourself and when it's like your first time.
Rough. That's rough.
But I got the taste for it and I want more. Like, I want to do this more. So it was a fun experience.
No, I can understand that. Like, specifically being by yourself. And this is something that people who have never commentated before or been in front of a mic don't understand. But that moment when nothing is happening, what do you talk about?
Shifting back and forth and neutral. You can only say that so many times. Like,
yeah,
they're getting his space ready.
Yeah, he's looking for something, and like that's the other part is that when it's not top level play, the meta isn't obvious as to what someone may or may not be looking for.
Right.
It's this weird thing where it's actually like mid-level play is actually kind of really hard to talk about unless you just specifically shoot for. Well, here's like the mechanics of what is happening here, or if they are kind of doing that shuffle back and forth, you kind of have to call it out at it as like, well, they're jockeying for space at distances that neither of them can compete with, so I don't know why one's not going in, or just like call them out on their own bullshit.
Out, I guess. Yeah. So they're running the clock out, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but I do want to talk about. I like to start the show. Anytime I have a guest, I like to start the show with whatever they've got going on. I want to hear your pitch of like what are you doing within the FGC or just in life in general? What do you have on the table? What are you bringing to Thanksgiving? Not actually that question of what you're bringing to Thanksgiving, but what are you bringing to this veritable table of podcasts?
No, I actually I'm going to my aunt's for Thanksgiving, so I don't bring anything, which is great.
Nice.
But for the FGC, I've spent this entire year kind of figuring out what I want to do for content, what I want to do in partnership and things like that, with teams and things like that. I've talked to esports teams and such, just kind of dabbled around and figured out what are kind of the best ways I can contribute. I've done some articles where like I've kind of hit upon topics where they're not really by other places. I recently did an article about the input lag fix that Street Fighter 5 just recently had, and I asked a variance of players about how it impacted their characters and their play styles. I really want to make content that's like that, which is kind of different and hits on topics that are a little bit maybe more niche, but things that we need to discuss or have out in the open. I'm also is next year. So a lot of this year has been like set up for next year.
Okay.
I'm thinking about doing like a big podcast where I do like a lifestyle kind of thing where I can kind of promote the scene outside the scene.
Do it.
I'd like to work more events and bring more events to Chicago. We're actually doing a thing at our locals where we're going to do like make more content with our local scene to showcase like our players, our play style and things like that. Marketing.
Do you mind if I bother you of like what that plan might look like or what that plan is?
Really solidified things. This is very recent. Shout out to Mike Yaru, who kind of got us in motion. I think so. We've always been talking about like, yeah, we should do videos and things like that. But Mike Yaru was the guy that was like, you know what? He's buying stuff. He's buying a camera and a mic, and we're just going to capture moments that are locals, that are like organic. You know, maybe do some like quick, you know, on the fly commentary and things like that. There is Zach in the Box who's doing a thing called the Midwest Movement, where he's doing first to tens with people in the Midwest.
Zach in the Box has done that. That's a good dude right there.
He's a wonderful dude.
Yeah, people don't know who he is. He's been putting together some really good, like, capital C content as far as I'm concerned.
And I really appreciate him and people like that in general who really like give back to the scene. Like he'll do with the first to tens is he'll like commentate over that, and then at the end he'll have the players explain the things that they did. Personality between the players, it's so great.
Yeah, I think that's smart because that's something that I feel like, and I had this conversation earlier today with Nick Tanella actually, that there's a huge hole in current Street Fighter content that is specifically that meta or the why someone does something, or even just like the neutral and how it's approached. Like, it's so undocumented. I feel like things used to be better documented in the past, or maybe I'm just looking at it with rose tinted glasses, but from what I'm looking at, like I've seen almost no, the thing that I continually go back to is that there's almost no like video, I guess tutorials on like how to set up like whiff punish set play of using a block string to put someone at a certain distance, waiting for them to press a button, or like confirming that they do press a button and then whiffing it because you know that you're out of their range from the block string that you've just done. I haven't seen that anywhere. That exists in Street Fighter V. Like, that's very much a thing. A lot of people's normals are pretty stubby, so you can like very easily set that up. But there's no, I don't know, that information isn't, I mean, even in character discords, I feel like it's not really been documented well. But anyway, that's my own pet peeve. I agree with what you are saying, though, is that we need a little bit more, we need to push players. Players are the heart of the scene. That's why we're here. And each scene has some really strong members that need to be, it's hard for them to promote themselves sometimes. So I really like your idea of promoting stuff within your local, because that helps promote your players. It's a win-win situation, in my opinion.
There is this, I think that's kind of the aspect I want to focus on. And it's not just like my locals. I just want to focus on, not really primarily, but really focus on like promoting players in general. Like you said, those are the stories, and those things resonate outside. And that's kind of the key. I think the players are the key to like bringing more people in. You kind of humanize this stuff. You kind of say, oh, this guy's a regular Joe just like me, and he's got things that he likes just like me, or like he has struggles just like me. And then it becomes like, I can do this similar thing too. I can play this game like them too. Right. I'm just like that person or her, you know.
Yeah, this is a college student that has to go to classes. This is a high school student that still is in high school, but doesn't even have a driver's license. Like, what's that say about
going to his locals?
Yeah, that happens.
Still grinding, so
yeah.
But I think that's like the strongest content that will grab people's attention outside and really help grow this scene. So I feel like that's what I'm kind of angling for. I kind of took this year to kind of.
I'm sorry.
The strongest.
I lost you for a little bit.
I said I've kind of taken this year to figure out that angle and that direction that I want to go in with my own content. Like that's the key. That's a thing right there that's going to really help pull in more people. There's other things obviously, but like that humanistic story, that's a piece of the puzzle, in my opinion.
I'm with you on that. So can I actually, and I don't know if you've been working on anything recently, but can I pitch some of the writing work that you've done? Or is there something you've been like hot for right now?
I mean, like, kind of relax a bit on the writing stuff. I'm actually working, and I don't mind to tell people this right now. I'm working on a couple articles. One of them I'm working on with interviewing Angry Bird back and forth through Twitter.
Nice.
About his time at Red Bull and just kind of him as a player and his thoughts on Zeku and such. So if we can get that done, it depends. He's kind of a busy guy. He's got school and stuff. I'll be in the article. But yeah, like, fire away. My articles and stuff like that, I just do as it's just like a hobbyist kind of thing where I can help grow the scene with. So it's whatever.
No, that's cool. That's kind of an altruistic look at it. I feel like it's one of those things where good articles within the FGC are hard to find and aren't often given attention, aren't often greenlit by big websites. So a lot of the stuff has to be from within to get that information out there. Like, there was that whole argument that you might have even started of who is the best Zeku.
I didn't start it, but I helped continue that. And you know what's really funny is that most of the Zeku players, sans one particular one, were okay with that thought process. But like, it drew all this big and I'm like, you know what? And this is something I'll cover maybe in the article, maybe not. Like, really matter that much who the best one is. Like, my thing is, if you care that much, go out and produce the results. Okay, like you can still be a good Zeku player that focuses on technique or the technical stuff and stuff like that, or like, because like Angry Bird, he's a good Zeku player, but he's also not as technical as like Automatic or other people, or Guy of War or whatever. How to use Zeku, and he knows how to get by in a tournament setting, which I think is the most important thing. At the same time, that doesn't invalidate other Zeku players when they play. But that just was like a whole thing. But that conversation needs to be a thing that we have a conversation about.
Yeah.
So this is one of the, I know this isn't part of the topics, but this is something we have to talk about these things, these tender topics, and bring them up and have discussions, but have an end piece to everything. Like, now, if you want to be better, produce those results. Like, let's see them. Like, let's come on. Don't complain. Go out there and get those results.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's like, for the longest time you had we'll touch on this later, but when you talk about characters like Cammy, is her threat real or perceived? And I think that there's some numbers out there which might be persuasive in a couple ways. Like, we can bitch about it all we want, but like, Is she actually the best? Like, I don't know if the numbers prove it. And also, you have to weigh that against, well, is it just because all of the top players have so much experience fighting against that character that makes her numbers not as prolific? And that doesn't even take into account like all of the numbers throughout. Like, how is she dealing in just regular CFN? Like, where's she rank there? Like, there's a whole argument to be had, or conversation to be had of, well, let's actually look at the data here and see, is Cammy busted? And I don't know if there's I don't know. She is a strong character. I'll give her that.
Oh, she's very strong. I think there's a lot of variance that happens at a lot of levels, and there's a lot of things that don't apply to a lot of players. Like, I guess maybe I'm shilling one of my articles here, but I wrote an article about like how, Sagat may or may not be bad, but guess what? It doesn't matter for more than half of you. Like, the reason you're losing with Sagat isn't because Sagat's a bad character. It's because you're not landing your DPs, you're not being optimal with your combos, and maybe Sagat's just not your character to use.
Right. And I kind of explicitly feel like in this particular game, Sagat might suffer, or does suffer, from playing online, where there is even that little extra bit of lag. I feel like that's an important distinction to make. Just because you have to play so solid with him, you really can't miss your DPs. You really can't. You can't be throwing bad fireballs. You have to have the right reads. You have to be able to Kara DP someone, neutral jumping your tiger shots. It's just things that you can do offline, but are much harder to do online. And I think that good character or good player to watch for that particular struggle, who's actually honest about it, is Piano Densetsu.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
I love his streams.
Yeah. Do you watch his streams often?
Because I actually met him at Combo Breaker earlier this year, and just like we were like in the Marvel area, and we were talking about characters that we wanted. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm looking forward to Sagat." And I'm like, "Yeah, me too." And when Sagat came out, I mean, this man grinded with this character, just grinded. Like I think he's master now, I believe. He understands how to use Sagat. And to me, like the work that he's put in with Sagat, and I'm like, you have no room to complain.
Right.
Like, this man's put in real effort to learn why the character is bad, what the problems are with the matchup, maybe how to overcome them. Like Piano, like he complains sometimes, which he has a right to, but on just like, how can I improve myself?
Yeah. And he's honest about that level of play and improvement. Like if he gets hit with something and he knows that he fucked up and he pressed a button, he goes, "Yeah, I admit that. That was like," he lost in this week's, he joined the online weekly, and immediately after he lost, he gave props to the people that he lost to. And it's like, well, that's the classy move. He knows that he needs to grind, and that came through in his message. So I think that's just a good mindset in general. I took a long breath there because I was going to say that's the mindset you have to have with top level play. But
right.
The stage that so many people have been given at not top level play is very public.
So this is something I said I was going to be raw on this podcast, and I will definitely be raw. I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to start with this. Planning on Twitter.
Let them have
because most of the stuff does not apply to them. And when it does, you know, the negativity that's spread from like even top players and things like that, like it makes sense. Like this is part of their job for some of them. And for others, maybe it's not part of their job, but they want it to be part of their job. They don't realize that when they say a character sucks, 30, maybe even 100 people who take that and say, "Yep, that character sucks," and then that person may not play that character in their own way with that character. It's just like this pervasive negativity.
Yeah,
goes to the FGC, man. It's terrible, and it's so tiresome to see, especially with Sagat. Like all the people, "Oh, Sagat sucks," and all the memes and stuff. Like Sagat may not be that good of a character, but like I said before, for most of you, it does not matter. Let's be real.
Yeah.
It does not matter.
I had this very similar situation, specifically with Sagat. Someone came at me. I was just like, "Oh yeah, I love Sagat. I think he's a great character. Like right. I love the way he's designed this game. Yeah, he could use some tweaks, but like I love the way that he is." And then someone came back at me, like almost in an aggressive way, saying, "Nah, Sagat. Bonchan said Sagat was the worst character in the game." And I was like, "Hold the fuck up. No. He didn't say that. If we're going to start quoting the man, let's get it right, because he specifically said Sagat is the worst character that he plays in interview, which does not make him the worst character in the game. So like,
not in the least.
So like, it's so easy to hyperbolize everything. The internet just wants to run with it. And that person like continued to spout that idea and was like, "No, this is just how it is. He's the worst character in the game." And had I not been there, would have like swayed a Discord conversation into, "Yeah, dog, Sagat sucks." When it's like, no, you should just play Sagat. If you like Sagat, it doesn't fucking matter to you. Most people in this room didn't fucking matter to these people. Like, if you want to play Sagat, just play Sagat. He's a fun character. If you want to play a low-tier character in any fighting game, it doesn't matter at most levels. I saw a Falk do very well in last night's tournament. And, like, granted, I'm not saying that, like, our online tournaments are, like, low-level play. They're actually quite high. But, like, you can be competitive with bad characters. Like, you just need to fucking try.
I actually want to give a shout out to the Chicago FGC. Last night for our Street Fighter V tournament, we had 2 Vega players, and one of them was in top 2 against
who was it?
4. His name is Moo. I actually have to check. It's top 8, somewhere in top 8. I should know because I was commentating, right? It's like top 8, top 4. But
no, you really shouldn't. Like, this is something that you'll learn with commentating, is that you forget nearly everything you said almost immediately.
It's so sad. It's so true. Like, if I'm outside of the commentary, I'm like, yeah, I remember this like that. And then in commentary, there's so many things running. Like, I have to like stare at the bracket. But like, Moo is this Vega player who's like phenomenal footsies. Like, this man's ridiculous. He pieced up a Cammy player. He likes Vega, so he plays Vega. And I think he's got a Zeku on the side. Like, he's kind of working with maybe a little bit, but like, he's phenomenal with this character. And I think he would mess up most of the people who say, Vega sucks. Why are you playing that character? Like, he's a pretty good player. But he makes it work on our locals, and I'm sure if he went to a tournament, maybe he wouldn't go that far. You never know. But like, in the work with the character, and he makes it work.
Yeah, not free.
So like, yeah, he's definitely not free. I use Bison, and it's a struggle. And my character is like ridiculously good. Like, I know Bison's good. I meme all the time online, but I know Bison's stupid. His character has to work so hard, but he makes it work. Like, I'm trying to jump in on him. He's AAing me. I'm like, how is this possible? Vega.
What are Vega's AAs? But, he has all of his anti-airs are situational. Every single one.
Yes. So to know those situational things like that as a player means you're like a really good player. And it's also the concept of like these characters that are seen as low tier that don't get explored, and then suddenly at the end of the year, people are like, wait, this character's good. AKA Zeku. I've seen so many Zeku players say that character's ass, and I'm like, wait a minute. You look at other people and what they're doing with their tech and how they're making it, like maybe it's time to use both like stances and stuff, or maybe it's time to play a little bit more wild like Angry Bird does, style a little bit. But now people are finally waking up to Zeku being good after almost a year of saying that character's bad.
Right.
Actually had a discussion about this before.
Similar thing happened with Blanca.
Yes. Wolfgang. He put in so much work this year. Make that character good. It was like him, Vae, and I think Nishkin, whatever his name is. He's a Japanese player.
Yes.
Like, those 3 did work with Blanca, and they're like, man, Blanca's actually annoying now.
Yeah. I mean, like, Vae sent due to losers at Evo. Like, say what you will about the character or the skill that Vae has, but like, a dude put in the work, learned the matchup, and made it happen.
Definitely no joke. So that was no fluke. Definitely no fluke.
No, but I'm with you on that. It's one of those things where I've just become like deaf to it. Like, I hear people say that stuff all the time, and like you said, it's people who are at that pro level with a almost irresponsible number of followers, where when they say something like that, it's like, okay, well, let's actually look at why you're saying this thing and break this down so that there's actually information here, and you're not just like spreading this negativity over. I don't know. It just brings, it's one of those things. It's this intangible thing that I haven't been able to quantify. I don't have any data on this, but I feel like every time a pro player says that, like, this character sucks or this mechanic sucks, like an angel loses its wings.
You remember the Akuma problem that happened when Akuma came out, and people were like, Akuma's slow buttons, you can't do a back jump fireball, things like that. You can't play lame. He's a bad character. And all of a sudden now people went and changed their tier list real quick. It's the same thing that happened with Abigail. When Abigail came out, people were like, he does big damage. But man, they're like, he's got no defense. He's dead. You put him in, you rush him down, he's dead. And I'm like, no, this character's good. And then sure enough, Cool Kid starts putting in work. It sucks that it takes a person to put in so much work with a character when it could have been done by anybody. Like, I'm glad these people are doing the work. Yeah. But it shouldn't be just like one or two or a handful of people. It should be a whole community of people being like, let's actually work on this.
Yeah. It pushes the scene forward. And I feel like this is also true of characters that have been like figured out, or characters who people think are, oh, that's already a strong character. And this might be somewhat of a different problem, but I think of it, gosh, how many weeks ago was this? I can't even remember the tournament. When Chakotay beat Tokido.
Man, what a mess Twitter was that day.
Blew him up, right? But that's just the way that, Tay plays Mika a certain way, very oppressive. He's super strong, plays different from Fudo, who Tokido plays. So then what happened? Tokido didn't complain about the character and say, I got Mika'd. The whole internet said Tokido got Mika'd, but Tokido said never again, and then fucked Fudo up the next time he met him in bracket.
That's such a mark of a good player and a good person. Like, I like how the internet speaks for the players.
Yeah.
Tokido's obviously mad about Mika. Mika's broken. Like, no, just let the, like...
Yeah.
That's not how that worked at all. And that's another thing, is like how people perceive like characters and stuff. Like, I know Street Fighter V is very simplistic in comparison to other games, but there are still ways you can play characters, many of the characters, in such a different way that when you run across them, it's like, oh man, what is this? Like, you look at Problem X's Bison compared to other Bisons, and he plays such like a footsie based like game. Like it's still oppressive, but it's still more like footsie based. Like
him specifically is that, in my opinion, when you watch him play, it's as if he knows exactly, he's a step ahead of his opponent almost the entire time. Like, if you watch his forward dashes, at times during pressure where he will forward dash, not in response to, but in anticipation of his opponent's backdash during block strings, it's almost like 1-for-1. He's like dancing with them. He knows that they're taking that back step. It's crazy how much he understands how his opponent wants to keep pace, and like they're just trying to reset the neutral, but he's like, no. I'm going in, and I knew that you wanted to escape at this particular time. I'm in there. And it's almost like perfect. He doesn't do it all the time, though. It's not like he can just freely dash in whenever he wants to. He does it like specifically in anticipation of his opponent backdashing, and it's the call out is so real. The way that he plays that character is inspiring to like people who look to like where the meta is, like where's the galaxy brain. I think he's definitely got it.
Yeah, he definitely has, and he's one of those people who has like such a good hold on his character too, and you can really feel that through his play and like all the things that he's really situational with. Like, even though he's such a good Bison player, there are other Bison players who may not be as good, but have or do different things. Like Hot Dog uses a lot of crouching mediums in his play, or conversions off like Inferno, or into scissor kicks and things like that. I've never seen a Bison use crouching medium as much as him. Style of Bison, like he's still more aggressive than Problem, but he's more about that like crouching medium between these characters, and people get complacent. They're like, well, this character's going to play this way because it's Street Fighter V, so like Bison's just going to keep swiping. But then you meet a Bison that doesn't do that, and then it's like, oh shoot, what's going on? Like,
yeah, that's that whole Fudo versus El Chipotle situation. Which, by the way, I saw someone call Tay El Chipotle on Twitter, and I fucking lost it. To me, that was the funniest shit I have ever seen.
Well, it was in response to another tweet or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect.
Oh man, I could not. I couldn't like that tweet enough. It was just too good. To the point where I don't feel comfortable even calling him by his real name anymore. Like I have to make the joke. It's too good now.
Next time I see him at a tournament, he's getting it. Next time I interview that guy, it's gonna be El Chipotle.
I mean, the crazy, like that's his actual name though. Like that's that man's real name. Oh man, it's so funny. So great. Actually, cool thing about him, and this is like, I guess this is kind of news that I can slip in while we're talking about it. Okay. But he's getting MeUndies sponsorships. Did you see that?
So what is this undies sponsorship? Because I don't see anything about this. Is such a weird thing. This is why sponsorships are so weird. I don't. No offense, Tay. I don't see you in undies, but I'm just saying.
I've never been more excited about another man's underpants. I've never been more excited.
That. Are you just gonna like put them on your bed, take a picture? What are you gonna do? Walk around the house with those guys? What's going on? You gonna do a stream only in your undies? What is the deal with the sponsorship? Funny because like there's just random sponsorships from like, and I'm not opposed to these. In fact, I think these are like fine. Like if that's what you can get, cool. Like go for it. But like me, I think being sponsored is in a way it's overhyped.
Why do you? Also, what makes you say that?
So I feel like people really are too much about the sponsorship and not worried about the journey to the sponsorship. There's a lot of players that I even know personally, that I've talked to personally, that are more worried about the end goal of being sponsored with like a big salary and all this stuff like that. And they're not worried about building their local scene. They're not worried about how they create content, how they come across online, or all these, or what they can give back to the FGC. Because if people thought more about that journey, like how to get there, explode. We would be so much bigger if every person who wanted to get like to a sponsorship like that, they worked hard to do the right things. And to me, those are the right things to do to get a sponsor.
Yeah.
But people are very selfish. It's another blow up right here. Everyone's super selfish. When it comes to sponsorships, 95% of y'all out there are selfish.
I wouldn't say 95%.
It's high. Maybe it's the people I've interacted with, but
it's high. Don't get me wrong. It's high. You're not wrong.
Maybe a little bit lower than that. I think the effort level of someone trying to get sponsored versus how much they give back to the community, which would help them get sponsored and grow the scene,
right?
And the FGC in general, a very weird like teeter-totter thing going on here, and I'm like, just try to even it out just a little bit, even.
Yeah, it is this. We're in this very weird situation. We've been in this situation for, gosh, about four years, give or take, where there was this huge explosion, bunch of money in the scene, right? And there continues to be a bunch of money from various sources. I don't know, because big companies decide we're gonna go esports this year, so they throw a bunch of money at it. I don't know what their returns are, the ROI. I've talked about this on the show in the past. I forget which episodes, but we dig into like the ROI and how that's like a fucking pipe dream.
It's not direct. You're not getting direct cash from this stuff.
Absolutely not. But the thing is, like, if you're a player, you have to start thinking about what's my ROI for a sponsor to make me a valued player enough so that they're willing to fly me out, house me, and sign me up for tournaments. Like, what is my contribution to, like, how is, like, that's the question you should be. If it's like I need to place well at tournaments so that my name gets on the board, like, that's part of it, but that's such a, I don't want to say that's such a small part of it, but that's like a consequential part of it almost, where they're shooting for this one end of the teeter-totter, like you said, and it's an end of a teeter-totter that is out over an elevator that like is not at the door, and it's just gonna fucking drop. Like, that is a bullet train down to hell if you just want to jump on that high end without thinking about all of the things that we do not have in the FGC and esports in general, of grassroots foundations being built up at a lower level. I want to see that big money invest in smaller things. Focus. It doesn't, the ROI doesn't make sense for them at this level. But if you talk to, I had a very good conversation with Hitbox Sora about this at the Canada Cup, about just, and none of this was recorded. This wasn't in the podcast where he talked about Hitbox's sponsorships, different thing. But he was basically like, no, like, we understand that, like, that's what we want. Like, if we were a company that, maybe I shouldn't say this out loud. Let me reel that one back. But we can talk about, like, it would be great if any company had the ability to put money into small local scenes and then have that somehow create, any kind of return for them, because that's where money is needed. I mean, money is needed at small local levels, at like places that could get sponsorships from like mom and pop shops. I feel like I keep bringing this up every episode, but like that's a huge hole in communities right now.
I'm speaking about ROI because I've talked to a couple of companies over this year. This I haven't talked directly to Red Bull about this or anything like that. So this is just my assumption, and from what I can gather from what other people have told me. But they're obviously not getting ROI from like you attending their tournaments and stuff like that. This is just like a big advertisement spend so that you buy more Red Bull and that you're invested in the brand more, which is because the way that they put on their tournaments and they treat the people that go to their tournaments and the way that they run their events, the community I'm more than happy to have them around, to be honest. If I have to drink a Red Bull for that to happen, cool. I'll take 2. I'm down with it. Like synergy that happens. And I think some people feel dirty about like these companies with products coming to the scene. And like, we're getting a lot from this. Like they're running on the assumption that we will buy some Red Bull down the line, or that we come invested in the brand as like part of marketing. Do is we show up to a tournament that's like well put on and spend like what, $10 or $20 entry fee, and they also do
tournaments, by the way.
Insane is that, and with such good productions and stuff like that, like production values and things like that. And they're I'll never forget this. We had the finals in Chicago last year for like the team tournament that they had. And everyone's going wild. And this guy comes up to me, like taps me on the shoulder. He's like, "What is this?" And so I tell him, like, we're rooting for this guy, the Chicago or the Chicago people, cool kid. You're on TV and them.
Speed.
Bring up the speed. And he's like, "Cool," because I didn't even know Street Fighter 5 was a thing. I thought they stopped at 2. I haven't seen this game in a long time, or I haven't seen like the Street Fighter series in a long time. And he had, I guess he wandered in because the venue looked so cool. It looked so tight that he came in. So cool, and he just want to join the atmosphere.
Wow.
And been playing Street Fighter 5, like I think he's gold or something now. So he's been like really putting in work. Like, oh wow. Had Red Bull not been in that area, maybe he wouldn't have seen Street Fighter 5 in that kind of light, like
absolutely not.
That and it's actually the Red Bull tournaments that got me to come out more to tournaments in general, because like I would go to some tournaments like local stuff, but I wasn't really like, I was like more online a part of the scene, and like I just kind of like was in a weird spot when I was in Chicago, and like more and more brought me in, and I found out that there's a place called Ignite, the Ignite Gaming Lounge. Shout out to them, by the way. Ignite Gaming Lounge, Chicago. That's our local scene for Chicago. They're great people. But like I thought that we have a scene out there. It's close by, and I started attending, and like it just like Red Bull doing that like brought me in and brought me as a consistent person. Like this big thing, come on out.
Yeah, that amount of involvement in the community, and that, I don't know, it's such a gold fucking standard that they've set. They just fucking kill it with, here's a huge number of casual setups, here's this great production value, like here's credence to the players, here's everything that you would want in a live event. They provide. They've got that Red Bull fuck you money. It's so good.
And they're spilling it, man. They're just letting that stuff rain. And they have their problems. Like, I'll talk about this later in the marketing stuff, but like I thought like they marketed stuff at the very end very well, but throughout the year the marketing was kind of, and this is because I'm a marketer, so I get anal about this stuff.
Right.
But I feel like the marketing was pretty low on the low end of stuff. And I also felt like they had casual setups at Chicago one that was at, like, you could just play story mode, and there's like a kid playing story mode and just kind of doing the tutorial and playing a little bit, but only one of those was out of like 6 were used. Put out something saying hey, come out and try the new Street Fighter 5, try out the new characters and stuff like that. You got like 5 or 6 people, but hey, have a Red Bull, come out, it's free if you're just playing, whatever. I don't know if there's a spectator fee or whatever, I'm not sure.
Right.
You come in, you play Street Fighter, just enjoy the ambiance, and maybe that could have spurred people on to come in and become, players, or at least experience the scene. So like they do great, but that was my only like really like, man, I wish they would have corrected that. Just like a little bit more marketing on those like casual setups and things like that, and just a little bit more marketing in general.
No, I can understand that. I mean, I feel like we're at the level where anything at the top end in terms of rules and how to qualify is at the like shrugging shoulders level of what is this nonsense, to like what, how many events are there, when does the conquering happen? I'm sorry.
Is that conquest? What is this?
I don't know. Like listen, I'm in it, I know, but I still need help from Ace King Offsuit to be like, hey, can you like pin up some things on this corkboard for me to understand how any of this shit works, because it's sometimes bananas out there. Like this past weekend, for example, how many tournaments were there? Just that bare question.
I honestly had like no idea. Yeah, I was like, wait,
how many were there?
Another one
is like a valid question to ask. Like not even just include like just in Street Fighter 5 of like there were 3 separate ones, and it's like, well, how, like, where was that clear messaging? Does any of that make sense? And that's just for yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I feel like if that like prior, like a good month before, you wouldn't have the scramble to be asking, Ace or any of the other people, like, hey, what's going on? Like, I saw maybe 5 or 6 diagrams of what was going on. I'm like, I'm still confused.
Yeah.
Absolutely still confused.
I mean, their art was really cool.
It was on point.
Had cool art.
Very on point. Yeah. Like the Bisons and the Ayachis and the cool bad guys. Those were great.
It's good art.
What things were going on there tournament wise, but I like the art. And that board that came up with the points, I don't know what the points are referring to.
Yeah, that board was real good. That was a good points board.
Don't know what it was in reference to, but I'll tell you, that was a cool thing they did though.
Now, like, yeah, that's like the thing is, like, yes, they have some sick designers out there. If only one of them could have had, like, okay, here's the webpage that you go to that's just the infographic of what's happening and schedules and like what stream do you watch?
Yeah, instead of relying upon the community to do it. This is also kind of a problem that like Capcom and other developers do, is they kind of leave everything to the communities to figure out. Like, obviously,
what are you talking about? Like Capcom's never relied on the community to do anything. What are you talking about? They have provided everything that we need.
They do such a good job with the tutorials and everything. Like, I have such a problem with like, and it is Capcom that I have issues with, but it's also like almost every fighting game has like these big issues, and I'm like,
they're not the only ones. Yeah.
On like Tekken, I look at it and it still doesn't have a tutorial at season 2, and I was like, I can't wait to introduce people into Tekken, and now I'm like, well, here's this YouTube playlist you can go into and check out. Is it made by Namco Bandai? Nah, it's some other dude. Hopefully he's good. I don't know. Here's some notations.
Yeah,
go for it. But that's just
that's the other shitty part, is that like to even read. Okay, so here's the part where the game itself is gonna have a really fucking hard time to like extrapolate from what the community already calls stuff already, because for example, almost nobody on the internet calls it Tatsumaki Senpukyaku. Almost nobody. They might call it Tatsu, but a lot of people call it a hurricane kick. A lot of people listen, Dragon Ball had this problem at launch.
Yeah,
It's not a key blast.
Those are key blasts. Those are fireballs. No, those are key blasts, dude. I want to hear you say that. The official Dragon Ball lore says that they are key blasts. Okay?
No one has thrown a fire. Only this character can throw a fireball. That is explicitly a key blast, as designated by episode. Listen, my guy, just chill. There's a lot of history. Yeah, I know there's a lot of history. Dragon Ball Z came out at this year on this date. It's been called that for decades. Oh man. Where do I begin? Like, that's the thing, though. But in, like, DBFZ, though, they can't call it a fireball.
It's always been, like, a key, or whatever the heck they call it, or, you know, Kamehameha and all that stuff like that. But imagine if the developers had the foresight to be like, okay, we're going to label it this, and we're going to work with the community and see what their current terminology is.
Mm-hmm.
Requires foresight, though, doesn't it?
Something like FA tools, right? Like they have the switch that you can do of real names versus like colloquial names. You can just hit it and go, oh, okay, no, it's this thing. Okay, never mind, we're good.
I couldn't imagine that would be difficult to put in a fighting game like at all.
No.
To like kind of flip a switch to change the UI or whatever. Yeah, and there's obviously some terms that might be outdated, but in the fighting game community, we use a lot of the same stuff for years. Like Whiff Punish has always been that.
Right.
You know, Oki's always been the same thing for years. Oki's Emmy back in the days of like.
Let me point a finger and look
like
sternly. When has a fighting game ever told you? Well, when has a Street Fighter game ever told you about Oki, or even like wake up pressure?
Not, you know, they. Not true, because in the demonstrations, I think there's something about like meaties or something, but it's like so poorly explained. But the joke is that it's so poorly explained that it probably is not. Like you probably don't get much out of that.
That's fair.
I
honestly don't remember.
I did it for the points. Nobody actually.
Yeah, I clicked right through that. Yeah.
Imagine if you were able to, you know, practice with that stuff, or, you know, really get into to actually doing those items, and you would actually have an idea of that instead of watching a video. But
no, yeah, that's kind of a whole other issue. See, here's now we're getting back into tutorialization, where like my theory crafting for the perfect fighting game tutorial is actually not a in-game tutorial at all, but a system that pairs up players with a fighting game Sherpa almost. I want a Sherpa system where here's my vision for Street Fighter V that will never work and will never actually be a thing. But people do like volunteer of I am a coach. I'm gonna be the dojo master, right? I'll be the black belt in this situation.
Okay.
And it'll be like an online search for characters who are looking for a master. They get paired up. It's a online it just puts you in online training mode. And that person can speak to you on mic and say, "Hey, what do you need help with?" And depending on like how much time is spent there, the person who's doing the training gets fight money, and then the person who is being trained can exit at any time, and there's like probably a level of which the person doesn't get any fight money. So it's like it makes sense for a person to spend time with a new player and want to spend more time with them to earn more fight money. There has to be that incentive to stick around. But at the same time, like they have to be like telling them like good stuff, or else the other player will leave or something like that. It has to be like this working thing, because that's how the fighting game community has built itself over time. It's players talking to other players of, wait a minute, how did you punish that? Or wait, what are you doing here that I'm fucking up? Like, I don't understand how this matchup works out. And then your opponent tells you, oh, this is how this works out. And then guess what? You fucking learn. Surprise, surprise. And tried and true methods for years and years of how things have worked out. Why not try to implement something like that into a fighting game instead of something that no one will ever read or no one will ever watch or no one will ever go through all of the training mode stuff or the tutorial lessons. No one will ever do that to actually learn. It's this human interaction that I feel like is so important to fighting games that every game is lacking.
Can kind of attest to this. So like the Chicago FGC, we actually started recently doing this. We decided to stop deciding to stop like grinding out like casual matches and not really learning anything from them. Like sometimes we'll run like a first of 3 and get up and be like, okay, see you later. But a couple of the players like Mike Yaru and have been like, you know what, hey, let's have like a setup where we just like we would play a matchup and we learn things and we talk about things like maybe problems in a person's like play style, or maybe like they're having issues in a matchup. With Mike Yaru and a few other people, you know, learned some Bison stuff. And lo and behold, I applied more pressure. I figured out how to just, you know, get my meaties a little bit more on point and, you know, some better options and a few counter hit combos maybe to rely upon a little bit better. I went from super gold to platinum in like a day.
There you go.
Of like having someone like sit down and be like, this is why what you're doing is wrong and this is how to correct it. You should go to your locals. Go to your locals, people. Go to your locals. It's so imperative if you want to get better.
Yes, it really is. And it's true of all things. Like I remember in high school, I competed in the high jump. And for like half a year, I didn't realize that I was doing something completely wrong until one of my coaches stepped up and was like, well, let's videotape this and show you exactly what you're doing. And then I said, oh yeah, no, my arm is going in the way wrong direction here. This is clearly the way that I need to correct this. But it wasn't until someone sat me down and said, no, let me actually show you how to fix this. Even though I was told before that. I knew in my head, no, throw your arm up, not up over. It was like I couldn't get it through my head until someone actually showed it to me and said, no, here it is. And it's super important in fighting games. And it's really cool to hear that your local in particular has decided, you know what, we're going to make a change here, because improving any player in your local community actually helps build the community, as it turns out.
Surprise. And like, I'm not looking to be like the best player, but I definitely want to be better and get a better understanding of the game. You know, it helps me in a lot of ways. Like, and obviously if I can be annoying with Bison, like that's
all. If you want to fuck up someone's afternoon, that's cool.
I'm looking forward to. So I really like what we're doing out in Chicago now. It's been a long time coming, but I'm glad that we're kind of like moving towards that. And people can still grind if they want to. But there's still that interaction of like, if you want to like talk about stuff and figure out like how to like beat someone's matchup or beat someone in general, like, I feel like that human interaction, as you said, is like so important to fighting games in general, and just how like guy at Red Bull, he saw the people getting hyped for Chicago and he was like, man, now I'm really into it. Like, but like he liked it more because there are people behind that,
right?
Hey man, I'm telling you, people are the key to making this game bigger, you know.
And not even just this game, but the community better. That's the whole other thing that I feel like a lot of people can't. And when I say people, I'm not saying this explicitly, but I'm almost explicitly saying people offline, because there's a lot of people online, and I don't know who these people are. These people don't seem like real humans to me, who are continually shitting on other games, trying to compare games to other games. And it's like, if you go to an event, everyone just likes every game, or at least has a respect for people who play the other games. There's no active shitting on any game. I don't think I've ever seen that in a live situation. And the times where I've like caught wind of it, I just like turn around and say, and not even say this, but just that person has made themselves irrelevant. Like, I don't have to ever talk to them again because I can walk away. it's crazy.
So easy. It's so perfect.
It's crazy because like I think everyone at an event understands that like we're here for the games. Like fighting games are so great. They're so great right now. All of them are so good. To sit down in a room and
with people.
Yeah, to sit down and play them with other people is it's super fun for all the games.
But the reason why this is like there's such like a drastic difference between online and offline is
There really is.
I hate it. Blowup culture is so prevalent in like it's prevalent on the internet in general, but because our scene is so niche and so small, it's really impactful on the FGC in the worst way possible. Like when something happens, people are so like they swarm it and they're like, cool drama. Oh man, it's so great. It's just like
every day turns into a Tuesday.
Oh man. And you know what? I participated. I'm not gonna lie. There's some times where I'm like, oh, this is some drama. But like my issue with blow up culture, and it becomes an asinine thing, is that there's never a solution at the end of the road. There's never like, okay, guys, we want to make something. I shouldn't say never. There are times where things have gotten better because of certain events, but
right.
Drama.
There
more
is
so
some
than, like,
level of outrage that is warranted, I'll say.
And like I'm perfectly okay with like certain things being put on blast or certain people being put on blast for the things that they say, but I'm hoping for more than just like that person's on blast and then we move on. Like for example, this is kind of a lesser thing. When I went to SER this year, do you remember the whole thing about having to open up your controller and all that stuff like that?
We did
security?
An episode on that one. That was
right.
Man, fuck.
We shouldn't have to be in the situation, but here we are. But once things calmed down, they made concessions for things and all that good stuff. We're still kind of worried about the lines of going into this and having to have their bags checked and stuff like that. People like I remember reading stuff like a couple days before. They're like, "Well, I don't know if I want to even go anywhere. The lines are going to be so long. I can't even get to my pools." Let me tell you that I entered and exited before pools multiple times. I got there early. Pools, all this other stuff. I never had a problem waiting like more than maybe a couple minutes. It was so fast and so easy, but nobody talked about that afterwards. Like, the system that they had was actually pretty fast. Like, no, I don't think anyone missed their pools because of the security issue at all. And if they did, they were like 5 minutes like right before their pool. They already hadn't checked in. They were leisurely taking their time. But like, no one really said like, hey, this was like let's think about other security things that we can do that are maybe, of this level that maybe are this fast or whatever. Like, let's continue this conversation. Nope.
No.
Matter.
There's no post breakdown of, okay, hey, we saw you guys were outraged about this. Here was the actual situation. Here's the solution that we've all lived with, and we're good moving forward. No, you're right. It's all about the being angry at the time. And I don't know, maybe it's because I just have like personal, I don't understand outrage culture. I don't understand riot mentality. It's never been appealing to me. So like, I don't get it, man. It makes me sad. Makes me sad all day.
And it sucks because you see all this stuff happen online, and people from the outside see this stuff happen online, and they see the players and the people and all the drama. That's when the stuff gets even, gets noticed. And then you go offline and it's
not there. It's not there offline. That's the crazy part.
Best people. Yeah. It's so weird. And some of the players, and this doesn't excuse anything that anyone said, I've met some certain players that have said some head ass shit, and they're like the nicest people. Doesn't excuse anything that they say.
Right.
But it's like this weird, it's just like, man, if you weren't a shitty person, obviously.
Yeah.
But also if you can broadcast with shitty ass ideas.
Yeah, that is kind of the bad end of it, is that there can be reason for it whenever someone's stance on things serves to hurt or belittle other people.
Right.
Like,
which I'm glad to see.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad when someone's a little bit racist. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'm glad we know you're like that. That's, you know, you're like that. But at the same time, I feel like a thirst for the blow-ups and not a thirst for like, how do we better our scene from these blow-ups or whatever, or how do we get better from this, that we just keep holding ourselves back, just looking for the next dramatic thing. And it's just like, this is really old and boring. I want to just play fighting games and have fun with good people.
And
like,
sometimes it's out of nothing. Like even today, or even last night. If people are, we're recording this on a Tuesday, even though this episode will be coming out on Thursday morning. So happy Thanksgiving, y'all. But on Monday, late Monday into Tuesday, Chris T got dropped by Psy Games. And the entirety of the internet was like, yo, that's because Brent posted a photo of you smoking a blunt and they can't have no drug culture within Psy Games. So that's why they dropped you, which like is not actually what happened. Like not actual truth. Cause like, I get it. That blow up would have, the thing is, if that was true, if that was the actual blow up, that would have been kind of fun. And I'm sure Chris would have had fun with that. But the actual sad, like, truth part that no one is talking about is that, yo, contracts within the FGC are fucked.
Right.
Like, for so many players.
It's like that big, like, Psy Games, just would have a good contract. And like, you know, when people think about sponsorships and esports and all stuff like that, it unfortunately is, I'm going to get paid a salary if I get a sponsor, and it's going to be, everything's going to be gravy. And it's not like that.
No.
And you're definitely right. Like, nobody's talking about the fact that, you know, his contract was not good. Like,
this is a company that had shut down a bridge, fuck you money. To get there, I don't know if they've changed their cover image right now, but if you go to the Psy Games Twitter account, their banner image, they shut down a fucking bridge to stand their players on it for I don't know how long. They shut down an entire goddamn bridge. That's how much money they have.
His contract ended like that.
They're going to write bad contracts, or at least a contract that he feels that wasn't fair to him as a player. Or I don't know. I don't know what the exact situation is, and I'm sure he can't speak honestly about it, openly about it, because it's a fucking contract, obviously. But the point is that that's actually the story that has a thing in it, a nugget to it, that the community can take and go, okay, no, this is the way that like players actually should be treated, and players should seek legal counsel whenever signing contracts, because it's in legalese that's hard to understand. Like that's something that is important. But he smoked a weed.
Yeah, he smoked weed, and that's why he got. And then
he's on the devil's lettuce.
Like, I've seen people delete their tweets, and I'm like, you're wrong, no big deal. But like, hey, let's discuss something else, and it's like, no, it's past. You know, like, even if you don't like Christie or whatever, it still pertains to other players. Like, this is still a generalized topic that pertains to other players. So, like, you know, again, it's just like blow-up culture happens, and the thing that happens is like an event, and then when it's boring, people move from it instead of being like, hey, this is a chance to change something. And it's rare that happens, and it's unfortunate.
Well, anyway, we're talking about it, so I guess that matters. But
hopefully, well, I mean, that's one of the things I'd like to change next year is maybe try to take some of these events and make them into like content that can maybe help out the scene, or whatever. You know, like try to make something from this blow up culture, because like everyone participates in it. I do it too, but I want to do something with it. Like, you know, best Zeku. Like, I saw that and I was like, you know what? Let's learn some things about Zeku, because most people don't even know that character.
That was, and even in my opinion, that was a good blow up. Like, I like the way that blew up, and because it shed a lot of light on that character.
And Angry Bird as a player. True. And it actually led me to start talking to him. Like, now we talk in DMs and stuff like that, and that's how we're like doing our interview. And I learned more like about him as a player, which is like awesome. So, like there's things that are blowups, and things that I feel like could just be taken from this stuff and not really doesn't happen constantly. Right. So,
all right. Well, before we move on, are you satisfied with those topics? Is there anything that we haven't touched upon that you'd like to dig into?
One last thing about the guest topic that we haven't really touched upon. I'll make this brief because I know a lot of listeners probably aren't kind of already touched upon it a little bit. But I just want to say, if you have a local and you run like a local, please take the time to do some sort of marketing. Have at your place. If you can, please like try to grab people outside of the FGC. If you can say something like, "Hey, come by and play some Street Fighter 5, we've got this." You maybe only get 1 or 2 people, but just simple things like posting on Twitter, on Facebook, advertisement on Twitter for like $5 and reach like thousands of people. Yeah. Like thousands. Like
Facebook ads are actually useful, as it turns out.
Yes. It's because Facebook's if you're not using Facebook ads, you're not doing anything.
Right.
And we're kind of in the dark ages with that, with the FGC and how like they promote things. Like we're getting better, and even the companies are getting better. Like Capcom and Namco are doing memes and stuff like that, which is great. But we need to do better. If we want to grow bigger, we have to start promoting these events. We have such great events.
Yeah.
We have casuals and stuff like that. We have players that will teach you things. Like you can come out to Ignite and we have players who will like sit down and teach you how to play. Shouts to Jollyphobic. There's a guy at my locals. He has taught like somebody like every other week there's like a new player. He's like, I'll look over. He's in the training mode on how to play Street Fighter because they want to learn. He's like, sure, I'll teach you. Instead of just beating them up and being like, all right, good games, and like walking away, he's like teaching them how to play Street Fighter.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He has to stroke his ego at all. He's just trying to help people.
Awesome dude. But like we have those people at these locals, like why not promote them or do little events? It's just things like that where I feel like if we did a little bit more work, we'd have more people, not just promoting to the same people who come out, same 14 people who come out for Street Fighter. Now you're promoting to a few more people outside who may tell other people outside of that. If we all put in a little bit more work, is what I'm just saying. The marketing side, we can grow this a little bit more.
Right.
Think about that, please.
No, I am 100% behind you. That is like the reason why the Local Fighters Network exists. It is so that players can find locals and know who the strongest players are in those regions. Like, more is coming with the Local Fighters Network in the near future.
Quick rant about this, about Street Fighter Reddit and how I just want to say real quick, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go off a little bit. The fighting game community, guys, the way it needs to, because you guys have such good resources. There are people. I posted a topic about like I'm at Plat. What do I do now? What are my next steps? I got like 4 responses in like 5 minutes. Twitter like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong in bronze. Like, what if you went to a place focused on Street Fighter, focused on where they would help you with tons of resources, and you have players like big name players or people in the community who do not promote you guys, and they should be. Like, another reason why we're not growing is that there's not this interconnectivity that these sources and these things that we could. I'm sorry. It irritates me to no end.
I'm with you on that because I get it. At some point, I get it. Like, maybe this is like my own self-deprecation coming out, but like I look at it and just say Reddit as a platform is trash. But what we've done with that trash, that's our trash. I've treated that trash really nice.
That fire's raging, dude.
It's raging. I lit all that trash on fire, and I'm keeping everybody warm. It's because it's coming that time of year. It's getting cold out. Gotta keep that fire burning. But like the thing is, like we kept that fire burning. Like in the last 3 years. The thing is, I'm going to say this out loud to people who were around the scene 4 years ago who have left the scene and not looked back. But like in the last 3 years, how many of you fuckers just stopped? Just outright just stopped. instead of like going, you know what, there's something to this community that I like. Let's dig back in and do what we actually love. Like, where's that passion? Where's the passion for the things that you love? And why focus on the things that you hate and don't like? It's so easy to just ignore those things. Like, life is so short. Why spend any time focusing on those things that you hate and all this negativity? Just promote what you love. It's not hard to do.
And again, that would be another thing that would make the scene so much bigger. If we spent so much, like, imagine if the trolls and all that stuff like that would spend time like promoting the games that they love instead of, you know, complaining about the games that they don't. Or I saw one guy post, he was like, yeah, I've been complaining about Street Fighter 5 for 3 years. They haven't fixed anything. And I'm like, years of your life complaining about a game. Yeah, gone. They're gone. Time gone with a game you don't like. Anything else or doing anything else with your life right now, like it's massive to me. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because our scene is so small and it impacts us way more. But I to our credit, I do believe that the scene is getting slowly better.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I feel like we hit a turn like 6 months ago or so, whenever they started rehiring people for the North America side of Capcom US.
Mm-hmm. I
don't know if that's when management started to change. So I guess that was what, April of this year. If I'm very bad with calendars, but I think it was with April of this year where management started to shift around at Capcom. Don't quote me on that. Again,
we'll just say this. That's fine.
Bad with calendars. However, but things started to move around. There's a lot more communication now. There's a lot more back and forth between the community and anyone at Capcom. They're letting us know that patches are coming.
Did the input lag fix? I didn't think they were going to do it. In fact, a week before, me and my friends were like, "This is not going to happen." Like,
they
I like Street Fighter,
said they were going to fix the input lag, meaning that they recognized that we're 3 years out, but they finally recognized, yes, we see that this is a problem.
and it was so weird because like they did a good job of it too. It wasn't like a half-ass fix. Like, they did a good job. Like, it could be better. Yes. But it wasn't like the variance is gone. Like, yo, wow, whose Capcom is this?
It was a surprise. It was, to me at least, it was surprising how much better it got. Granted, it could be much better. They have made games that are much better. Could be much better, but I was expecting the worst, and I was surprised. So I'm happy. But to your point, though, I know, dude. It's one of those things where if we could get just a couple of players to say, hey, what this platform is doing, they have good resources, just go check those out. Go check out these resources. If you want to get a foothold into the fighting game community, here they are. We have them on our Street Fighter, but like for whatever reason, we're like the ugly stepchild that everybody hates and likes to punch down at.
The same time, like, it was only recent that Reddit as a platform in general became like accepted.
Yeah.
So like, you know, like Reddit and all the forums and stuff like that became like the butt of a lot of jokes, and now it's like okay to go back to Reddit. It's like slowly being like, yeah, I can go back to a forum and post on there. Like, it's not as embarrassing. Like,
yeah, I guess the thing is that to me, I feel like our Street Fighter is so insular from the rest of Reddit. Like, it's basically its own website.
Yeah. I mean, it does feel like that. That is for like a lot of fighting game like communities, like Tekken and Soul Calibur. They're all really helpful. And Street Fighter, obviously, but like they're all so different, and they're also like their own like tonnage and stuff like that, their own communities. On Reddit, when you're on those communities,
yeah, you don't get the most horrific parts because we moderate those parts out, as it turns out. Like that's part of my job. Like my other job is to make sure that place isn't filled with horror shows. That stuff.
Not too bad.
it's gone by the time you get there. And if you think some of the stuff that you see on those threads is like, hey, this isn't passable, you should see the stuff we delete. By the way.
I can only imagine with the ease of access to make accounts on Reddit. But yeah, I feel like it's getting better.
It is.
More players get more active in promoting you guys, because like it's a pain to see like people say, well, I don't know where to go, and the players are like, I don't know either. It's like you could literally just you fucking do a search and Reddit Street Fighter pops up with all the resources. But yeah, that I just wanted to make sure that was known, because like you guys do work, but
thank you.
Push it as much as it should.
There's
an overarching problem with that, but
I'll take. Yeah, I know, and I don't know what it is because the other end of it is that it totally makes sense for anyone who is trying to build their own brand to become a more appetizing player to sponsors to continue to build themselves up. That part I understand. Like, push your own stuff. That is fine. I get it. You don't have to be like on this platform helping people. I get it.
Let me sneak one more complaint in.
Okay.
Let me get one more raw complaint in. I'm so sorry because I'm running time here. One more raw complaint here. Esports teams don't do it right. In the FGC, they want to be, I see some of them try an attempt to make content where they become this, they try to become like an authoritative figure, or they try to push a brand. Right. I've researched comparisons from League of Legends teams and Dota teams and all like FPS teams and stuff like that. Well, they'll write articles or have like content on their website or YouTube or whatever, do tips and stuff like that, or like interviews and stuff like that, or being their own media source. We don't do that. We try to pretend like we do that, and we'll make like a post here and there for like esports teams or whatever. But they're not their own. They're not branding themselves well enough. Kind of a huge pet peeve of mine as a content creator, to see content being made like on Twitter and it's just on Twitter and it doesn't exist elsewhere, because it's so ethereal. It leaves. It's gone after it's algorithm
it is of the moment.
In the way that Twitter's algorithm is that, you know, like you only see what's on your timeline now in a sequential order. Like everything comes up as the newest now, which is perfect.
No, you have to change settings for that.
Well, most people have, as I've assumed at this point.
I know that. Well, no, because I've gaslighted myself on this because I want to see it both ways. So I run our Street Fighter Twitter account, which is at RedditSF, and I have my own personal one, which is Super Joe Monday. And I've made my personal one straight timeline wise. So I see things in sequential order. But the Reddit SF one, I've kept that normal Twitter algorithm. And in my opinion, that is the fucked up way to look at FGC Twitter, because you'll continually see people like announcing that they're going live on Twitch 12 hours after they've announced that they've gone live on
I
Twitch.
can see that being bad.
That happens every day. Almost every morning when you look at Twitter, it's like, I'm going live on Twitch. Posted 11 hours ago.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that being an issue. I just wish there was more content made on the website, on the actual, like somewhere where it could be hosted there for like a long period of time.
Yeah, something archival.
Yeah, and it helps for SEO. It helps for, you know, bringing attention to your brand. There's a big rant with that, but I won't get into that. But basically, the content that is made by esports teams, like for the FGC, it's not good right now. It's not good at all. Some teams are doing great, but they're still lacking in big areas, and it's like,
If I can pitch, I think that Hitbox does a good job because they have to teach people how to use their equipment.
Work with people like Automatic, like in his Sagat guide, he's like how to use it, how to do a DP with a hitbox, and I'm like, man, I might kind of consider one of these.
Yeah, because like Automatic is a super good teacher, and B, a good dude, and like C, makes really good content on his own, so he was just gonna do it anyway. and he's learning the hitbox and using it and is good with it. I don't know. I've been used. By the way, full disclosure. Actually, I don't know if I have to do full disclosure here because Hitbox did not give me this hitbox. Delzone did. I've been using a hitbox recently. I'm not.
How are you liking it?
It's initially I hated it. And still sometimes when I get flustered, like when I'm in, because I don't get to play that often anymore, so like I don't have that level of familiarity with it that I should. So like when I get flustered now, like it's still in moments where I want to do something, my hands don't know what to do yet, even though in practice I can do the thing that I want to do. But initially I hated it until everything clicked. It was when I find because when I touched it, like it's got the small buttons, they're all very close together, and I'm like, I don't really understand why things are the way that they are. Why is the jump button so close to the light kick button? Why is it like, oh, that's where my right hand is? I can just use my right thumb to jump. Oh, I can just slide my finger off here and use my right. Like everything started to make sense about how it was even constructed to go, oh, the hitbox is very good. It is very well designed from like size of buttons to what kind of buttons they use to the position of the buttons. Like all of that makes sense to me now after getting my hands on it and going, oh, I can do a headbutt into a 720. Cancel easy. I can do that whenever I want now. But it wasn't until I had like sat down with it and forced myself to learn it to go, oh, that's why this thing is made this way. It took me a couple of sit downs and a couple hours to just go, what am I doing? And I still have moments like that where my hands don't know what to do. But after that period, it's starting to make sense. And I think I understand the draw here. Can I recommend it? I don't know. Maybe if you want a hitbox, get a hitbox, but yeah, they're cool. They look cool.
I've always liked the look of a hitbox. I've tried it, and I think if I had more time with it, maybe I don't know. I feel like I love the aesthetic of an arcade stick so much that it's hard. But I feel like I can play on multiple. But yeah, it always seems like a time issue with like switching back and forth. Like, just gotta hit that point where you're just comfortable.
The weird thing is that I use it for during the tournaments now, the Monday tournaments, and I will constantly get phantom limb that I reach down with my left hand to grab the stick just any old time because I'll have my stick on my lap to control like the lobby, right? Invite people to the lobby. So at any time during this tournament, I'll just like reach down and touch the stick because that's just where my hands rest. And multiple times I'll reach for it and whiff and just go, like there should be something there. And I just kind of go, there's nothing. And I go, oh, I have to look down and realize, oh no, it's gone. It's been cut off. It's very strange. But that's all right. That's enough advertisement for Hitbox. I see now their funds have run out. The check cashed and I can be done talking about them. So thank you very much. Take that one straight to the bank.
He's worth money, right?
I know. Last thing I'll say, anyone who runs a local, use the LFN. It's super good. I highly recommend it. It's on the front page of our Street Fighter. There's links somewhere. I guarantee it. And in the near future, we're going to change things up to make it much easier to submit scores. So look forward to that. That's my pitch. I'm done covering stuff. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover that we haven't touched upon yet before we start closing up?
One last thing about the Red Bull NA regional finals.
Ooh, okay.
Say how cool it was for Punk to run a mirror match with Nephew using Colleen. Like, how amazing is that for that man to pick up that character?
Yeah.
Who else uses that character?
Yeah.
Main
against a person who I think is, I don't know if I can. I don't even know if I can say he's the strongest Colleen now. I don't know if I can say that.
That's
It's
the
like
problem. Is like
nephew,
the best.
Neon, I guess Punk now.
In contention for best Colleen. I don't know. Like,
it's a good argument. The thing is,
Matches
they
are
all play
ugly,
that
though.
character differently.
yeah,
I
Punk
think-
is very footsie's like reaction based. Like,
Mhm.
and Neon just has some gross setups. Like, I was at SCR and that man hit me with some disgusting things and looked over like, yeah, it's fine. I'm like, man, dude.
Yeah, there have been multiple times where I've asked him after seeing something in tournament, say, "How do you block that?" He just responds, "You don't.
Yeah, that same thing. I was like, how do you counter it? He's like, you know,
You don't. You get hit by it. I'm
That's
sorry.
Neon.
You just get hit by it. You were getting hit, and now it's my turn to just hit you. And sorry, but you get hit by it. Good dude. By the way, all of them, Nephew, Neon, Punk, good dudes. So congratulations to Punk for taking the North American regional finals, sealing his spot in Capcom Cup.
very, very good. Like, he's been, off and on this. He's been hot and cold this year, but he's been doing really good towards the end. And it all came down to picking a character that wasn't top tier. Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Carrie.
That was a great event, and it was one of those things where, and this was true of last week as well. You know what? I'm gonna redact that because I think there's a much longer conversation. I don't know if I want to have this conversation right now because I haven't necessarily fully formed my thoughts on this, but the conversations happening last week versus the conversations happening this week are different in a very specific way, because if you look at this week's last tournament, it was an open tournament, open to everybody, anyone who went, and they had a bunch of casual setups. It was a players tournament. If you went to that tournament, you had a great time. I guarantee it. Like, I don't think I heard anyone say poo about that tournament. The TOs did a great job, and it was TOs that, like, I would recognize from other events. Like, they have continually done a good job all year. But you look at last week, fully different experience of an invitational, way more highlights in terms of gameplay, I feel happened the week prior versus this week. And I haven't fully formed this thought, but I feel like Red Bull made the argument for here's how you run a good open tournament and here's how you run a good invitational, like within a week. So my mind is kind of blown, like sitting in, like, just thought of, wait a minute, like there is totally space for both kinds of events, and they both have different effects on the conversations that people are having in and around the game. But again, haven't thought too much on it.
Don't forget that they also did the pit. That was an EU focused one that also had like a 3v3 tournament style going on, which was actually really entertaining to see.
Yeah,
like the variants there too. It's just they do such a good job. Just all around the board, they do such a good job. Whatever with them, but man, they are far and above. Probably my favorite, like, sponsored organization has been working with the FGC, like, by far.
100%.
Just the amount of work they put in, like, they're ridiculously good. But yeah, you're definitely right that they're kind of giving
best case
E-League and
scenarios.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
I mean, you compare E-League to, like, and E-League does good. Don't get me wrong; they've had issues, but like the Red Bull somebody, and that's more palpable and enjoyable than just like E-League, which is, it's got its own crowd, but like one that's just like more entertaining for someone who doesn't know fighting games to watch.
And all of this will be leading up to Capcom Cup. It's one of those things where I feel like it's almost unfortunate that Red Bull hit back-to-back home runs, and the next premiere we have is Capcom Cup.
Positivity, we're going to end it with the end. We're going to go off in the end, I mean.
I really hope they crush it. I really hope they do. That's all I'm saying. I really hope it's good, man.
They're going to be. I think all the matches are going to be amazing. I think all the players obviously deserve to be there.
Yeah.
I think the Last Chance qualifier, I can't wait to see who's going to make it. In terms of production, they usually do a pretty good job. In terms of announcements, who knows?
Well, they're in that much smaller space now. They're in the ESA arena at the Luxor, much smaller than the theater that they had before. So they're dealing with a smaller space, dealing with smaller number of people that are even like allowed in the room.
Yeah, that's going to be. I went last year to Capcom Cup, and it was great to be in that big space. So,
but does that help them? I don't know. I am so tentatively nervous about this event, but I hope they do well. It is teed up.
I really want
it's teed up.
They've got, this is a stream of great things that Capcom's done. Street Fighter V is looking better. The meta's looking better. We're not seeing as many top tiers and things like that. We're seeing more variants.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, an explosion of, we've got some new things. Maybe some. I don't know what new mechanics will come. X-Kira or whoever leakers or whatever, or what new characters are coming. But I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, you know what I'm looking forward to? I got to hear your answers to these questions that I ask every person who is their first time on the show.
All right, lay them on me.
We're coming down to it. Before I let you go, I have to ask you these two questions. It's a two-parter. The first part of the question is, and I think that these questions really, they let you know about a person. I feel like it can tell a lot depending on the answers. And the first question is, what is your favorite normal attack in any fighting game?
Normal attack. Can I use a special? Can I
Sure.
cheat and use a special?
Yeah,
okay.
You can use special if you want to go that way.
In all the Street Fighter games that he's appeared in, I love Sagat's Tiger Uppercut. Like every single one of them, there's something about like you're laying on all these Tiger shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they try to jump. You feel that frustration of them jumping, and you just knock them out of the sky.
Boom.
Or just like
you're right,
Tiger Uppercut, like you're clipping a limb that maybe shouldn't work. Maybe that's a whiff punish, maybe it's a whiff punish, you don't know.
Yeah. Just
hitting them with that, with any of those levels of the Tiger uppercuts, I love them. I love seeing it. It's like it's so perfect.
Yeah.
Still plays Sagat, even though he doesn't have that frustration factor that I like with a lot of characters. Hitting that uppercut is just, it's so good in Street Fighter V. Like the sound effects and everything, it's perfect.
It sounds like it hurts.
It's absolutely perfect.
And like it still looks the same way that it has over the years. It's the way that he moves forward, the back is shown, and he does the flip at the end. It's the whole motion to it is just really satisfying. It's a exclamation point to the end of a sentence of, oh, you're gonna jump now? I'm ending that right here.
Yeah, definitely my favorite. It's nice and reliable, nostalgic. It's just perfect. Just a perfect move.
All right, good answer. And then I can follow up this question with, what is your favorite combo in any fighting game?
Favorite combo. So, but I talk about this a lot, like how I think a lot of the older games are insanely busted, but they're so much fun to watch and kind of tinker with in the Street Fighter series.
True.
I actually like system in Alpha 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a particular favorite. Seeing activate and like just watching the dumb things that happen. I like, for instance, Saddam, get him in the corner, do a couple dunks on them. May not be an infinite, but just there's something cathartic about seeing someone get hit up in the sky and just get knocked up and down in a Street Fighter game. That's just so like different, but it's so perfect.
Specifically, like when someone has someone in the corner, when any character has any character in the corner and they activate, and it's just like, oh no, you're just gonna get hit over and over.
You just get the taps over and over. It's not something I liked getting hit by, but when I used to have the execution and you know I was able to do some of that,
Right.
it felt great to do. And I think a runner up in the Fighting EX 2 games, or Fighting X, I'm sorry, Street Fighter EX 2 games, the Excel system, where there wasn't really a particular combo in those, but the ability to make a combo out of just anything, everything changed into everything when you activated it, like
you
over each other. It just, yeah, you just do whatever you wanted. That freedom in both the games, even though they led to busted things, and I don't really inherently want them back in Street Fighter 5, I liked them in those games that they were in. I liked watching them. I liked trying to execute some of the lower rung things that I could. And they kind of gave variance to like a lot of characters. Like the tools that they gave, especially in the EX games, some combos and that just like made the game 10 times better.
Now, a kind of a side question, but have you touched Fighting EX Layer at all?
I have. So this is part of my problem that I have recently. There's too many fighting games and not enough time.
That's absolutely true. And they're all good. That's the trouble.
I can't find a game. There's rarely a game that will come out that's a fighting game. I'm like, man, I don't know if I like. Like I can find games of other genres that are not good. Like Fallout 76, I hear is not good. I can be like, I can pass on that.
Sure,
but like
trash.
Slayer comes out, I'm like, I could just another fighting game comes out, I have to buy it. Like I'm at the store with my money. I have bought game this generation.
Fighting EX Layer, Soul Calibur, so good. Dragon Ball, super good. Uniest, super good.
And heck, you know, even can play Street Fighter. I love it. I love Street Fighter. I love Marvel. I love
Marvel Infinite is a fun game to play.
Looks like shit, but I love it. It is one of my favorite games to play of all time. And like honestly, it's funny because like when people like if they're spectating, they'll be like, "Yeah, this game looks like shit." I'm like, sit down and play this game for like just one match. I guarantee you'll love it.
Yeah,
I've got people hooked on it in my locals. All they do is play it for a second, and they're like, "Man, we're playing this. We're playing this now." I bought the game yesterday.
Fun because what I thought I could do in a combo, I was allowed to do, and that's fun when you have that kind of free. But I don't know about that game. It is actually still funny to me because the supermarket that I go to for like odds and ends whenever I need just something to pick up from the store. They actually recently added I forget what the box is called, but it's one of those things where you can rent a game at any time. It's kind of like a red box, but for video games, and it's blue. And sometimes on that box, it has one screen that like sometimes shows trailers, and it shows the old MVCI trailer with bad Chun face. And
oh no,
I know it. I see it almost every time I go in that supermarket, and it's like the bad supermarket, you know, like when you're going like I have a good supermarket I go to and a bad supermarket I go to. This is the bad one.
Second choice.
This is my second choice. This is my second tier supermarket, and it is just so fitting to me that every time I go in it, I see the bad Chin face, and I leave just smiling, going, "Ha!" They fucking
well, at least you brought joy to us in some way.
Indeed. But no, it's a fun game, and there are so many good fighting games, and there's so many good fighting games to come. Like I forget the name of it. It's the new Samurai Showdown, Samurai Soul
Showdown. Samurai Spirits.
Spirits. There it is. Yeah, that game looks. I mean, they haven't really showed a whole lot, but I'm excited for it. I'm very excited for it.
Amazing. It's like Street Fighter 4, what I wanted it to be.
Yeah. It is to me. If they make it the Street Fighter 4 of Samurai Showdown games, then I'm in. Like if they basically revamp what they did in 2, but kind of modernize it and make it its own thing. Oh, I am so in on that game.
I'm so ready for it. I used to be a big Sam Show fan back when I was a kid. I kind of dropped out of it after like the third or fourth game because there's so many, and I was like, I could play other SNK games, but
yeah, I mean, like KOF is good too.
I mean, it's good, but man, Sam Show was like, I with that a little bit better. That's one of the games I started out with when I was a kid. Like, so you know, nostalgia thing speaking.
All right. Well, I think that's a show. Very good answers to that question. I think that tells a lot about you and your character. But that's a show. Before we go, I have to tell you, thank you for joining me on this show, and thank you for spending the time out of your afternoon to talk about fighting games. It's been a pleasure.
It's always will do that, especially with fighting games. I'll spend hours. It's all good.
It's so easy. It's so easy to do because fighting games are so good. But before you go, where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me on Twitter at Saint Cola. I don't have a Twitch or YouTube or any of that stuff yet. And you can find my articles in my bio if you want to look at those. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm mainly on Twitter.
Word. All right. And that's the show, folks. You can find me at Super Joe Monday or at RedSF on Twitter, or you just hop on our Street Fighter and find me Joe_Monday. That's a wrap, folks. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone who's sitting down. Or here's the other thing. If you find yourself alone on this Thanksgiving, or feeling alone, or feeling ostracized by your family, hit up the Reddit account. Say, I'm feeling alone because you got family in me. I will be your family. FGC is fam. That F stands for family as far as I'm concerned.
True. That's actually very true.
But no, so by the way, if you're feeling alone, you are not alone. There's tons of people who are willing to step up, I'm sure. But hit me up. I'll talk to you for a little bit. But that's a show. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody else out there. Before we go, I have to spend one more minute talking about what's your Thanksgiving tech? What's your approach? What are you looking for? What are you looking to get in? What are you looking to trash yourself with?
Okay, so here's the real tech. I've learned this over the 31 years of my life here.
Okay.
In the morning, I don't know why people don't eat. They're like, I haven't eaten all day. That's not the tech. What you do is you eat a little bit, you clear out your stomach right when you get there, and then you get your plates ready. You do a big plate and then small portions after that.
Mm-hmm.
There, kind of converse with family, check your phone, do what you got to do. You have to kind of portion yourself after, but I always believe in a big plate first and then small portions after.
I'm with you on that.
So obviously.
With you on that. So let me ask you this. Cranberry sauce, yes or no?
No. Get that garbage out of here. I don't even want it to touch my plate. Don't even touch my plate with that. Disgusting.
Are you a mixer or things by themselves?
As long as it's not sweet stuff.
Okay, that's
sweet,
fair.
Sour, stay separate.
Because you can get some yams. Speaking of which, sweet potatoes, marshmallow on top or no?
No.
Because that's a thing.
No marshmallows.
Apparently.
No marshmallows on top.
No. Too sweet for me. Born on Valentine's Day. Too sweet. Already sweet. No, I'm with you on that. But I disagree on cranberry sauce, and I'll take it from the can where you can slice it. Oh, put
gross.
That garbage in my mouth. I love it. So good.
Oh, just trash.
Ready Whip or Cool Whip on your pumpkin pie?
I'm a Cool Whip kind of guy. I'll do Cool Whip.
Right on. Okay, that's enough turkey talk. It's enough talking turkey. Have you ever tried to deep fry a turkey?
Dad did, and he did a pretty good job with it. It actually turned out really well. I actually almost prefer deep fried turkey if my uncle didn't have these injected ones that are even better.
He's injecting his turkey?
Some flavor stuff or whatever, and some
flavor. You're getting a flavor blasted turkey?
It's a turkey.
Damn.
It's ridiculous. It's like Guy Fieri's in the kitchen right now.
He's taking you to Flavor Town.
Man, I don't want to ever leave. I'll put it that way.
He's elected mayor of Flavor Town once again.
I'm a citizen for life.
Which I could go off on Guy Fieri. People give that guy shit for having a bad haircut, style, and shirt, but he's like a fucking saint.
Yeah, he's a really good dude.
It turns out he's
really
like,
nice guy.
He's a super nice guy, and is like always donating his time and efforts to like disaster relief. He's
shit on by everybody though, like,
and like all he did was have bad hair. That's it. And we collectively decided, nah, it's time to shit on the mayor of Flavortown.
Hey man, that's blow up culture in Flavortown right there.
That's true. No one's willing to talk about his efforts for disaster relief, but everyone's willing to talk about his shitty goatee.
Just his frosted tips and stuff. Just that.
It's 2018, my God. Frosted tips. All right, that's a show, folks. We'll catch you again next week. Happy Thanksgiving, FGC family. We good. But until next time, take care, folks.